Have you ever felt a deep nagging sense of dissatisfaction with your life? A feeling that there must be something more than the day to day routine? Or maybe you've faced a major crisis, a loss, a heartbreak, a profound failure that forced you to question everything you've thought you knew about yourself and the world. Welcome to the Awakening Tapes. I'm your host, Lucas Olson. Today we're exploring the spiritual awakening, not just as a gentle, peaceful unfolding, but as a transformative fire often ignited by life's most challenging moments. We'll investigate what a spiritual awakening truly is, why crisis so often acts as a catalyst, and how these intense experiences can permanently reshape our reality. The term spiritual awakening can be abstract, but at its heart, it's profound shift in consciousness. From a psychological and spiritual perspective, it's a process of waking up to the truth of who we are beyond our collection of automatic thoughts, memories, and desires. It's a subjective experience of direct contact or union with a perceived ultimate reality, but be it the universe, God, or a universal consciousness. This awakening isn't just a thought, it's a deeply embodied noetic experience, a feeling of remembering or unveiling one's truth, essential nature. Now, it's crucial to understand that this isn't always a single dramatic event. For many, it's a gradual process that unfolds over years, often natured by consistent spiritual practices like meditation or deep self-reflection. However, many awakenings are spontaneous and sudden, triggered by a specific event that shatters an individual's previous reality. These sudden awakenings are often described as blissful, ecstatic unions with the divine, where the normal sense of self dissolved completely. So if this experience can be so powerful, what pushes a person to the edge of it? While it can happen spontaneously, research consistently points to a powerful trigger. Crisis, a significant emotionally charged event, often serves as a catalyst that forces a complete reevaluation of one's life and beliefs. Studies have identified several consistent triggers. Around a third of awakening experiences happen during periods of intense stress, depression, or loss. This can include self-altering events like a divorce, a life-threatening illness, losing a job, or a death of a loved one. Other common catalysts include near-death experiences, deep contact with the beauty and stillness of nature, or sustained spiritual practice. But it's often the experience of suffering that creates the conditions for most profound shifts. The period of turmoil is often called the dark night of the soul. I was devastated by the end of my marriage, facing a suffering that I didn't imagine could possibly exist. But in the midst of this suffering, I began to experience a clearness and connection with everything that existed, a state of pure happiness and acceptance. This is the paradox at the heart of so many transformations. The breakdown becomes the breakthrough. The very event that brings us to our knees is the one that allows us to see from a completely new perspective. An awakening isn't just fleeting moment of insights. For those who experience it, the after effects are often profound and permanent, fundamentally altering their perspectives of themselves and the world. The long-term changes are remarkably consistent. People reported a greater sense of trust, confidence, and optimism about life, and there's a marked increase in empathy, compassion, altruism, and gratitude. Many become less materialistic, with some abandoning high-powered careers for simpler, more service-oriented lifestyles. Perhaps the most significant change is the development of a stable underlying sense of inner peace and okayness that isn't dependent on external circumstances. The fear of death is often greatly diminished, replaced by a sense of interconnectivity with all things. This isn't just a new set of beliefs, it's an observable change in behavior where compulsive or neurotic patterns tend to fall away naturally. The experience only lasted for a few minutes, but in its aftermath, I found that the feeling of dread and disappearance I felt more positive and resilient. It allowed me a glance into the other side and opened me to the knowing that I am never separate, alone, or unheld. Now, it's important to ground this conversation. While these experiences feel deeply spiritual, psychology also offers frameworks for understanding them. From a scientist's perspective, these events can often categorize as anomalous experiences. There, I'm proud of myself. Uncommon now I'm having a hard time saying subjective. Uncommon subjective events that challenges our ordinary understanding of reality. For example, rather than a message from the divine, a psychologist might view a sudden awakening after a crisis as a profound form of post-traumatic growth. The trauma shatters the individual's ego and worldview, and the awakening is the mind's radical attempt to find new, deeper meaning in the aftermath. The intense feeling of peace and connection can also be seen as a powerful psychological defense mechanism against the terror of annihilation that a near-death experience or a major loss can trigger. This highlights that a factor isn't necessarily the trigger itself, but the process of making that follows. When faced with an experience that defies logic, a person is compelled to interpret it. A spiritual framework can provide a narrative that feels more validating and less pathologizing than a purely clinical one, framing the event not as a symptom of distress but as a moment of profound insight and connection. Yeah. This just validates my claim that a spiritual awakening is pretty much for those who's gone through hell, who's been drug through the mud for a very long way. I'm kidding, but yeah, it's almost like you have to go through it in order to see it and believe it, feel it. It happens sometimes to the best of us, but take the time to be kind to yourself. You survived. Okay, let's get back to the conversation. So, whether we see it as a spiritual event or a psychological one, the awakening marks a point of no return. Once it begins, a fundamental restructuring of our lives is set in motion. The journey after the initial awakening is one of integration. It takes conscious work and reflection to observe the ego's attempt to regain control and to retrain it to live in a service of a new expanded awareness. This process can be challenging, especially for relationships, as it's difficult to navigate them when you are changing so fundamentally. This is why support is so crucial. Many find that a spiritual teacher or a transpersonal psychiatrist can provide invaluable guidance, helping to ground the experience and integrate the changes into our daily lives in a healthy way. The goal isn't to live in a perpetual state of bliss, but to bring the wisdom gained from that peak experience into the fabric of your everyday existence. To help us reflect on the theme of radical change, I've drawn a card from the collective, for the collective, from the tarot. We use the tarot here not as a fortune-telling device, but as a mirror for the soul, a tool for introspection that helps us connect with our inner wisdom. The card for this week is the Tower. Now, this card that often brings a jolt of fear. It depicts a tower, a very tall tower, struck by lightning with figures falling from its heights. It represents sudden, chaotic, and often painful upheaval. It is the ultimate catalyst of change. The tower is the universe telling you that the structure you've built, your beliefs, your identity, your sense of security, are built on a false foundation and must come down. This card is the dark night of the soul in visual form. It is the car accident, the divorce, the diagnosis. It is the moment the life you knew is irrevocably shattered. But look closer. The lightning bolt comes from the heavens, a flash of divine insight. The destruction, while terrifying, is clearing the way for something new and more authentic to be built in its place. It's a forced liberation from the prison of your own making. So as you reflect on on the tower, ask yourself, what structure is in my life I am clinging to out of fear? If a lightning bolt of truth were to strike, what would fall away? And what freedom might I find in the rubble? And for this week's journal prompt, I would like to reflect on a tower moment from your own life, a time when an unexpected event or realization shattered your reality. Describe the structures that fell away. What truth was revealed in the space that was created? And how did you begin to rebuild on a more authentic foundation? And for your creative ignition, a song to play while you write, this week I suggest Rise Up by Andra Day. It's a powerful anthem of resilience that perfectly embodies the spirit of moving forward after a crisis. It's a song to remind you that even when you are broken down and tired, you have the strength to rise unafraid and build a new life from the pieces. A spiritual awakening, especially one born from crisis, is a powerful reminder that our deepest transformations often comes from our deepest wounds. It's a journey that forces us to let go of who we are, who we thought we were, in order to become who we truly meant to be. The question it leaves us with is this: are you willing to face the storm to find the peace on the other side? I'm Lucas Olson, and this has been The Awakening Tapes.
A low-grade hum, a constant static, living in a skin that felt like automatic. A house of cards on a fault line of my own making, a fragile piece of lie my body was shaking. I heard the whispers, a truth I couldn't see, that what I knew of I was never truly me. And I begged for a reason, a way to break the mold, but the catalyst chose me. A story left untold, didn't ask for a push, just a hand on the door, but the universe chose to kick down the floor. I felt the fire of a forced surrender, a lightning bolt to the life I thought I'd render. Oh, the tower came down, a brutal flash of light, and the end of everything was the start of my sight. Found the remedy in the rubble and the ruin. The breakdown was the only way to get through it. The dust cleared slow, revealed a broken slate, all the patterns, all the fear sealed by a lock of fate. But in the silence, where the frantic noise would fade, I saw the truth in the beautiful mess I made. I'm not a victim, not a prisoner, not a ghost, just a stranger in the place I know the most. Yeah, I begged for a reason, a way to break the mold, but the catalyst chose me. A story left untold, didn't ask for a push, just a hand on the door, but the universe chose to kick down the floor. What's the structure that I'm clinging to? What am I afraid to lose? When the ground gives way, what can I find in the space? A simple breath, a touch of grace. In the rubble, the remedy